Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning magazine with me, Phil Aston, and also Sue Aston.
Me, Sue Aston.
Now this has been long promised, and it's bringing classical music to the channel. And Sue, as you've probably seen before with that painting behind us, is a classically trained and professional violinist. And thanks to Sue, my knowledge of classical music is bigger than it used to be. And on this particular episode, Sue is going to be giving a rundown of her top 5 albums by that feature the violinist Nigel Kennedy. Now, before you start, because when we first met, I was completely just really into rock music, and obviously trying to impress Sue when we first met, I'd wanted to show an interest in classical music. And those of you with long memories will know that certain shops like Virgin and HMV had a dedicated classical part of their record store. You know, the place where you went through like sliding doors. It was all very different. All the rock people and pop people were out there.
They were kept out.
But in this inner sanctum was where all the serious music people were.
There was a lot of hush in that
department. So there was one particular, I can't remember, I was going to say lunchtime, could have been. We went to Virgin and I was trying to think about, I want to buy a classical album. So I thought it would be really cool to get this. I didn't get it, by the way, because I said, because Nigel Kennedy was the first classical musician that kind of broke through my radar and anyone's radar, because classical music people all wore black. They were kind of, for us who were into rock music and stuff, it was another world. All of a sudden, this guy who looked a bit punky, a bit different, everyone was buying this record. So I said to Sue, should we get this? And she went, no.
Oh, controversial.
So why?
Well, I mean, it was his greatest selling album, wasn't it?
It put him on the map.
He did. I did go and see him play it in a concert somewhere in Birmingham, one of the theatres. And it's amazing. I love it. I love the energy behind the Four Seasons and the way that he performs the music, in his own style, playing very close to the bridge to create a really ghostly sound effect, and how fast he plays everything's absolutely stunning. But I don't know, for me, I just prefer the more romantic composers, really, and more of a, I don't know, maybe it was too popular for me as well.
Yeah, it's your punk background, isn't it?
I don't go for popular.
No, always goes for the underdog. Yeah. So, talking of which, there's a dog on the first album cover, isn't there?
Again, seamless.
With segue there.
Segue. So, these are in no particular order, although because I think the final one is my favourite, but it might just be because I've just recently been listening to it. It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can change your mind, but these are my top 5. This is the first one. So it is the Elgar Violin Concerto and also Vaughan Williams' Lark Ascending on this album, with the fantastic Simon Rattle, also my favourite conductor. So the fact that these two are on the album is just perfect. With the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, my favourite orchestra. They used to rehearse in the college where I studied, and I did at one point want to be in the City of Birmingham.
You studied because you've so Simon Rattle has conducted you, hasn't he?
Oh, he has a couple of times, yes, amazingly. And I did play the Beethoven Violin Concerto with Nigel Kennedy when I was at college as well. So, yes, they were kind of familiar faces in Birmingham at that time, and I just absolutely adore both of them. So, yes, the fact that this is Nigel Kennedy playing the Elgar Concerto, which is beautiful in my opinion. I love it more than the cello concerto. It's just absolutely stunning.
Is that this version then? This is the Ralph Vaughan Williams, Lark Ascending, and Kennedy and Simon Rattle, City of Birmingham. This is the one that you would recommend that people listen to.
Interestingly enough, before that, Nigel Kennedy played the Elgar Concerto with Vernon Handley conducting the London Philharmonic Orchestra, which is really the one that I grew up with. But then when the Simon Rattle one came out, just blew it out the
Blew it out the classical music department at Virgin.
I do have notes because you cannot just flippantly say, this is my favourite one without saying why.
That's
so,
okay. What's next?
I would just like to say that I'm going into more depth, Philip.
More depth.
The reason why I love it so much is that it's just full of every kind of musical colour you could imagine. The way that he brings out the tone of the instrument, the long, perfectly executed bow strokes, the variation in vibrato speeds creates a rich sonority when you're listening to it. It's just such a big sound full of many different tone colours. And I think the orchestra, the CBSO, is beautifully and sensitively accompanies him under the baton of Sir Simon Rattle. And Simon Rattle and Nigel Kennedy, obviously together, they do pull about the tempo, the speeds in the recording, which I absolutely love that. There is a tendency with Elgar that it can be a little bit self-indulgent in the wrong hands, but it's just perfect with these two. Just full of excitement, full of passion. And also the Lark Ascending, I would like to mention, is really reflective. It's just played so sensitively and calmly and meditatively. Interestingly, very different to the way I play the Lark Ascending.
You've got your own arrangement there, haven't you?
I have done my own arrangement of it for those times when you don't have an orchestra with you. My actual favourite version of the Lark Ascending is played by Jennifer Pike, who won Young Musician of the Year when she was, I think, 12. I just love the way she plays that, because to me, when I'm playing it, I feel as though I am the lark ascending. So it's just a bit more lively and a bit more, I don't know, I struggle to play things really still. I just like a bit more, action. Whereas I think a lot of people, when they play the lark ascending, they're looking at the lark ascending and feeling calm and peaceful. Whereas to me, when you're playing it, you could be that lark ascending and you'd be full of thrills and spills. But anyway, I digress.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. So what's next?
What is next in my top 5? Oh, again, it is Nigel Kennedy joined by Simon Rattle and the CBSO again.
There's a theme.
There is a theme for this one. So it is the Sibelius Violin Concerto and Sibelius Symphony No. 5. So this was recorded in 1988. And I do remember when Simon Rattle conducted the Sibelius Symphonies. I think a lot of it was recorded at Warwick University Arts Centre, which is a lovely place. I played there a few times at college, did various ballets and stuff. But to me, it's to do with the tone colour with Nigel Kennedy, The thing is, when you learn classically, you're told to play in a certain way. And that's not easy to do, actually. It's not easy to be told to technically perfect something that's, handed down by loads and loads of teachers as this is the way to do it. That is quite difficult, actually, to do. And you have to have a really good technique to be able to do as you're told. But then again, that's the thing with classical music. You've got to really try and bring your own individual stamp to it. Otherwise, you'll just end up being like everybody else. So it's good to learn to be able to do it a certain way, but then it's good to break with tradition and just bring out your own individuality to it, which Simon Rattle and Nigel Kennedy both do that. So with the Sibelius Concerto, it's just beautiful. We've got like a really icy opening, as you would expect.
It's in D minor, one of the saddest of all.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
So against this icy opening of like the bleak landscape that you would expect from Sibelius, you've got like the lower strings creating a really rich, velvety sound. Nigel Kennedy plays double stops absolutely masterfully. And again, the tonal colour in this concerto can just change in an instant, just completely change into something else. The CBSO have a really rich accompaniment in the strings, delicate woodwind, and a very ominous sounding brass I did know some of the brass players. Well, I did know quite a lot of the orchestra as well, and I can imagine that the brass would be quite ominous, probably because they went to the pubs.
I'm going to say, did you go drinking with these people?
I wasn't one of those ones that did, actually. I avoided that kind of situation, although we probably won't go there. Probably best we don't. But all of these, like the different sections in the orchestra, they all create a really bare landscape, the bare landscape of Finland, but it's just so exciting at the same time. It's just so emotional going through all these. So it reminds me of my past, I suppose. Moving swiftly on, let's not get too emotional. We have Nigel Kennedy playing the Brahms Violin Concerto, conducted by Klaus Tenstedt with the London Philharmonic Orchestra. Yes, I like his...
There's a big difference in his image as he moves through here.
Yes, I mean, was an early image with Simon Rattle.
Very young, slightly older, getting more edgy.
Yeah, a little bit gypsy-ish there, I think. And which is good because we've got the Hungarian kind of aspect of the Brahms concerto, which you see particularly in the third movement. But what I've said about the Brahms is it's just, again, very sensitively played, very dramatic and exciting, full of vitality and energy. And Nigel Kennedy plays his own cadenzas in this at the end of the first movement, because we're always told, you learn a concerto and then here's the cadenza usually that goes with it. And I've always found the Joachim cadenza a little bit lumpy and stodgy. But that's just me thinking that, probably. But Nigel Kennedy's cadenzas, they're just like quicksilver. They're flashy, full of brilliance, and just very lyrical. It's just gorgeous. And Brahms, as a composer, I just absolutely adore. There's something about Brahms, not only the melodies, which are really, really strong, there's just such an authority in the music, just like such a strength. It's gorgeous. The slow movement, full of lyrical beauty, and the final movement is really vivacious in the Hungarian gypsy style, hence the bandana, I think. But just, again, beautifully played and very, very exciting. Leading us on to the fourth one, not that they're in any particular order. And where's my notes? I have to have my notes for this. There's so much to say. This is Nigel Kennedy with the Croak Band, because he lives in Poland, doesn't he, and plays with a lot of Polish musicians, which also sees him explore a lot of Polish folk music, which is fantastic. So this is called East Meets East. And I went to see Nigel Kennedy at the Hall for Cornwall in Truro probably about 10 years ago now. And I'm pretty sure, well, he was with the Croak Band. I'm pretty sure it was this album they were playing the tracks from. And it was fantastic because I struggle with concerts, if I'm being honest, especially classical music ones, because they're so deathly quiet. It's kind of like you're going to the dentist. It's just got that vibe for me. I don't know why. It's just so serious, isn't it? But in the first half, Nigel Kennedy wandered on with a mug of tea and all his, mates in the band. Didn't kind of acknowledge the audience, start with. I thought, this is great, it's so like laid back. In the second half, he came on with a beer. So he'd ramped it up a little bit. So this album, it's playing a selection of traditional Polish folk tunes, as well as some original compositions. And interestingly, I found out recently, it is his second ever collaboration with Jaz Coleman, who produced the album.
From Killing Joke.
Yeah. So this is a really, really exciting album. It's full of incredible rhythms, harmonics and octaves in the violin, very haunting sound, insistent and changing rhythms, Arabic and klezmer sort of vibes going on, gypsy sounds. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. Something really different. if you're not sure about classical music, then Nigel Kennedy just is like a fusion of all these different types of, he'll listen to anything, world music, jazz, as we know. And it's just absolutely gorgeous, really exciting.
Before we go to the next one, which Sue's going to announce, which is also my favourite Nigel Kennedy event album. One of the things I said at the start of this video was that he looked a bit different than a classical musician. He was very different in how he'd been brought up as well, because the first album he ever bought in his life, which was from W.H. Smith's in Mel Square in Solihull, was Mahavishnu Orchestra, Birds of Fire. So he was listening to a lot of jazz and rock, and he's done albums where he's literally replicated on the violin the music of Jimi Hendrix. He's really into jazz. And of course, many of you will know his collaborations with the late, great Jeff Beck. But it's that collaboration with the Killing Joke frontman that led into this next album, which is just...
I think this is my favourite one. It could just be because I've listened to it more recently, but it is Riders on the Storm, the Doors Concerto. So this came out in the year 2000. Again, it's a collaboration with Jaz Coleman. Want to hold it up?
Hold it up for the...
Who has arranged the music for this and just taken it into just the most symphonic, beautiful music, because obviously it's based on the Doors songs, and like some of them are quite recognisable, but other ones have just been like morphed into a whole new creation.
I mean, things like People Are Strange is like 7 minutes long. Love Street is nearly 7 minutes long, and they are very different arrangements. You can pick out, in fact, the melodies are even more beautiful than before because of the way that they've been put together. Rise of the Storm is probably the most recognisable, and Light My Fire, but Spanish Caravan, The Unknown Soldier, Strange Days is another 7 minute, but and the end is nearly 12 minutes, and it's just
stunning. Jaz Coleman, he dedicated this album to the survivors of the Vietnam War. He's a very spiritual man. I mean, just looking up Jaz Coleman, he's got such a huge musical education. I think he was a scholar. He studied in Leipzig. He's conducted some of the world's most famous orchestras. It's just incredible. And this music is a fusion of very traditional, kind of like you get the very traditional classical influences coming through in terms of the structure. But then you've got this beautiful romanticism that comes through with this virtuoso violin playing with cadenzas. Jaz Coleman apparently studied Arabic music when he was at college and studied all about quarter tones. And you can see actually how the influence from different countries comes into this, because a lot of the music features the pentatonic scale, kind of like that Chinese sound.
Is that what gives it that kind of oriental feel?
It's absolutely beautiful. So this album was recorded with the Prague Symphony Orchestra, and also a special mention to Colin Downs, who plays Spanish Caravan. He plays the classical guitar on the Spanish Caravan track 3. It's just stunning, isn't it? Another beautiful album.
But is it because of that scale why the violin sounds so pure?
Scale.
I mean, this recording of Nigel Kennedy, he just sounds
again
so...
a tone, isn't it?
It's his interpretation of of these arrangements, and it's so vocal in a way, isn't it?
Jaz Coleman's arrangements are just fantastically beautiful, aren't they? But Nigel Kennedy, he's just got this very fluid left-hand technique where he just chucks in scales left, right and centre. He's so like music just pulls out of him. He doesn't need to be told this is how you've got to do it. He's just beyond all that. It's amazing. Also would like to say that Nigel Kennedy is also heavily influenced and interested in Aston Villa, as am I. And I thought I'd wear my new Aston Villa jumper, just especially for this Nigel Kennedy tribute.
Because he might be watching.
Oh, you never know.
You never know. I mean, how many videos about Nigel Kennedy are going out at this point in time?
He's
Who
great,
knows?
isn't he?
You know. So, the Doors Concerto.
Oh, everybody will love that.
Yeah.
If you're worried about getting into classical music, which you shouldn't be, this one you'll just love it. I can't imagine anybody not enjoying that.
No, I mean, there's quite a few people in the Now Spinning Facebook group who've got this. It's absolutely amazing. So it doesn't matter if you like the Doors or not, because the music is just incredible.
It's very cinematic, isn't it?
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. So we've had Doors Concerto, we've had the Croak Band, is it?
Yes. East meets East.
Brahms,
Violin Concerto.
Sibelius.
Yep.
Whoops. Careful, Midge. And
the
Elgar.
amazing Elgar Violin Concerto.
This could be the subject of another video, but we've had there's 3 violin concertos there.
Yeah.
So which do you have a favourite violin concerto?
It's always been the Elgar Violin Concerto. I used to listen to it with my dad. It's just gorgeous, powerful music. I do also really love the Britten Violin Concerto. Yeah, which one day I'd like to talk about Britten, because I remember hearing the CBSO when I was about 14. I used to go to their rehearsals at Birmingham Town Hall and hearing the War Requiem, which just completely blew my mind. But that's for another video.
Well, maybe that could be what a future video, that particular one, because I mean it's.
So, I think my parents were a bit, what is this music? And you were a bit, I think, weren't you?
I was.
It's all about it's about like a mass, you know, obviously in memory of the dead in the war, and then you've got this amazing war poetry going alongside it. It's fantastic. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you, Sue, for giving everybody there an introduction to Nigel Kennedy and a beginner's guide to where to start.
Yes.
Because there's loads of other albums you could go and explore as well. Well, thank you for watching and thank you for being here. Please subscribe and ring that little bell, share, wherever you're on social media. So is Now Spinning Magazine. If you become a Patron or YouTube member, you can join our Facebook group and also our WhatsApp group and chat to lots of like-minded people, and also come along to our virtual meetups, which we have twice a month. But remember, music is the healer and the doctor. So keep spinning those discs, stay safe, and we'll see you all on the next video.
Very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.